am. Hey friends. So I'm still experimenting with camera angles. I haven't even attempted to do like the pan and scan that's built into this camera. So just trying to figure out what angles are going to work good for working on this torch. So I got a bunch of glass in the mail last night, I guess, and I'm going to try and get some restocking done. So what I'm going to do for y'all today is wasp beads. I've got quite a number of wasp bead variations that I tend to use, and so I'm just going to try and make some of those and maybe generate enough stock to get some stuff relisted in the shop. I usually try to keep about 4 bags of wasp beads available, and I don't know if I have any available. It's either one or I'm out of stock. So hopefully from this we will get enough to restock a bag, and then at the same time I've got a couple of pieces of jewelry that are out of stock that requires wasp beads to finish, or at least one. And then I use these a lot in the reeb. I'm sorry again, my pronunciation. Strands. So it's going to be good to have these resupplied. So, anyways, I've got the right kind of colored glass to get some of this stuff done. And so let's do it. First thing I need is yellow stringers, and what I've got here is some opalescent yellow, and I'm mixing it with some opaque yellow to get something closer to the color I want, and just at the same time using up some of the scrap that's on the table here. So I'm just getting this big ball of glass on the end of this rod, and then I'm going to take a tool and we're just going to pull that glass into strings. There's lots of ways of making stringers. I use a bunch of different methods, but for what I'm doing right now, this is just going to be the quickest. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to mix up the opalescent glass and the opaque glass pretty well, so that it's nice and evenly distributed. Alright, and then get that nice and hot, and then we're just going to pull it. The faster I pull, the thinner the stringer. Max out our arm reach. Probably need to move. Ooh, there's some stuff here that needs to get moved out of the way. Ooh, we don't want to burn that. Ah, tacos. Okay. Pop that. This needs to go away. This piece of paper needs to go away. These cables need to be secured better. All right. So this is what I made. And we're just going to start with that one. We'll sit this over. So I'm going to begin by making the handful of clear one variations. Now, I've got 3 variations of this clear that I have seen, but it's not common. So, and generally when I make a bead for stock, I try to make it in 3s. These are small enough that I can do them 2 at a time. So we're going to probably get 4 of each. And then I'm going to use 2 different rod sizes. So I'm going to use my small rod and my medium rod. This is my medium rod right now. So this is the basic wasp bead. It's just 3 yellow stripes around a barrel. And the neat thing about wasp beads is they don't need to be perfect. The imperfections is not a bug, it's a feature. The ones that you find in the wild, there are lots of imperfections in them. So I think they work best if you make them quickly, that they tend to come out with the imperfections. So we're going to make another barrel. So what we're going to do is just going to make a bead, then we're going to mash it into a barrel with the marver, not mash, marver it. These are supposed to be really small beans, so the smaller the better. That's my dog playing. If you hear that, that's my dog playing underneath the workshop where he is not supposed to be playing. So this is the small rod. We're going to make the same bead on the small rod, and we're going to shoot for getting 4 of these made. So this wasp bead I've seen in greens, blues, reds, and blacks. And yellow. I mean, white. So I don't have any more of the small mandrels prepped, so we're going to move on to a different bead. This is another common variation on the wasp bead. It is an S-type, but done with yellows. Again, we're going to start, it's one I've seen in clear, so I'm going to make one in clear. Same as before. Make a barrel. Okay. Come down a little bit my temperature. And what we're going to do is we're just going to draw a series of S's in the center of the bead. And again, if it's messy, great. It should not be perfect. And then we're going to put a straight line around each edge. And I didn't even complete that last straight line, and you know what? It's fine. These are rough beads. They're not often in a pristine finish. But you see a lot of them. And that one's going to get kind of mushy because I put that on too thick. But again, like I said, I do not stress out about failures at all with these wasp beads. The failures are a feature. Alright, let's see. We will make this again. So if you do that same bead with a red center and a white center S and red on the edges, and you do it on like a blue, that's the basic rebead S-type. I call them S-types. I don't know if anybody else calls them S-types. I call them S-types because of that S-curve that is the center feature. And this time I'm not gonna marver this. I'm just gonna let the S's stay raised up. And again, I've seen both. I've seen them melted in, I've seen them not melted in, so that there's some texture to the surface. So this is the third type I see in clear. And so this will be, you know what? This is the only way I've seen this particular bead. I don't think I've seen this bead anything other than in clear. Okay, so same thing as before. Make a barrel. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make a cube. So one way of doing this is with my mashers. And we want to be really light on the heat because we want to keep that cube shape intact. And then we're just going to make that basic 3 straight line over the cube. And these are messy, and it's okay. Just want to make sure they're attached, but I'm not going to heat them for too long because I do not want all this to become a melty mush. So there's another way I can generate one of these cubes. Oh, I'm going to retrieve them. So the other way I've got of generating this cube, same as before. Make a barrel. So we could just mash this 4 times on the marver. And the other thing I could do is I can take a handheld marver and the torch marver and use them together to make a masher. Then same thing. Light touch, light heat. We're way up here on the top of the flame because I'm trying to keep the heat down. Okay, and that's going to make a big blob right there where we're joined up. But again, these are messy beads. It is fine. Okay, so that's the 3 type I see in clear. So blue, of course, the 3 lines and the S-curve style. We've done those already. We could do those in blue, but instead let's do something different. So again, same thing, making 2 beads, making 2 barrels, and that is a fucked up bead. I got an air bubble in there somehow as I'm working too low in the flame because I'm trying to talk. Bust. So this one is going to have a dot, 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 or 4 dots across the center of the bead. 1, 2, 3. And that just depends on how that spacing came out between the first 2 to determine whether I'm going to go for 3 or 2. I mean 3 or 4. And then this particular bead, more often than not, it seems to have a raised up dot, so I'm going to try and keep a light touch on the flame. And So I don't lose count of what I've done. I'm going to make that bead again. We may end up making 3 on this one. So far we've got the 3 straight lines. The 2 straight lines in the center curve. We have the 2 straight lines and the center dots. And all of those are on a barrel. And then we have the one unique to the clear, at least as far as I have noticed, which is the cube. Alright, dots. Dots. Dot, dots, dots. Usually make the dots first. Dots, dots, dots. Dots, dots. So, now, a slightly different variation is going to be a cone. So we're going to make 2 beads. Then we're going to make 2 barrels. We're going to convert our barrels to bicones. And then we're going to take our stringer, and we're basically just making that base bead now. So 1 straight line on each end and 1 at the apex of the cone. And around the equator or apex, and then the end. Again, like with the cubes, you don't want to overheat these and lose the bicone shape. So I don't lose count. Gonna make another 2. Turn these barrels into bicones. Boop. And like that. That one's got some fucked up air in there. So let's see if it pops out. I think it just popped. Stop going down that part of the flame, girl. Alright, that's gonna be a fucked up bead. Alright, here we go. Turn this into a bicone. Bicone, and again just 3 lines, and 1, line 2, line 3, end, center, end. So I've seen this one in blue, black, and red. Okay. Bicones. So this is another style bicone that I've seen. Barrel. I have just not spent enough time in the shop over the past 2 years, and I make a lot of errors that I didn't used to make. Now that I'm making beads more regularly, this will eventually go away. Okay, now this is just the center dot one done as a bicone. So dots and dots and end. Now it's a very messy dot, and I don't care because the messy ones are historically accurate. This is why I let myself work fast on these things, because it enables the mistakes to happen. Alright, so while we've got the blue going here, technically I don't think this is considered a wasp bead, but they're small, they use the same colors, and therefore I put them in the same bin, and I'm going to make some now. And these are just dots. This is just a dot bead. I'm using a large mandrel now, and that's because I just see a lot of these beads have much larger perforations. And so I'm going to make this bead, I'm going to make 3 more on each mandrel, and I'm going to make them in 3 different sizes instead of mandrel instead of 2. Same thing, 3 or 4 dots, whatever spacing seems to suggest. And they can be melted in, they can be left raised up, it doesn't really matter. And so this bead I've seen in red, I've seen in black, I've seen in blue. I may have seen it in other colors, but those are the ones that stick out in my mind. Of course you find these beads with other colored dots. We're talking about yellow as a decorative color today. Okay, and finally, the medium mandrel. So these are just real simple, historically accurate beads. When they crop up in the historical record in Denmark, they happen before the red, blue, and white beads, and they stay along after. So they're the first polychromatic beads to start dominating, and they're the last to go away. Okay, so we've been making beads 2 at a time. This next style, which I throw into that same bin in my storage of the wasp beads, is because it uses the same colors. It's a polyhedral bead with a dot. So I probably could make these 2 at a time, but I feel I get best results with making them 1 at a time. So we're going to make a bead, we're going to make a barrel. We're going to smush the bead into a cube. Then we're going to marver the corners of the cube so that we get this polyhedral design. That's the wrong mathematic word, I'm sorry. Then we're going to kind of let that cool off because I need to see the flat sides. And then we'll put a dot in the flat sides. So that should be 4 dots. So these dots can be red or yellow. The red dots definitely need to leave raised up because they wash out so easy amongst the blue. So that's one way of doing it. The other way, I will make that bead. Well, we're going to use a small mandrel because that's what I got ready. The other way I make that bead is to put the build the barrel. Let's do that. Build the barrel, and then I'm going to put the dots on the barrel. Then I'll use the dots as a guide to make my flat sides, and then marver the corners. This time I'm just using the back side of my mashers. Like really, marvers are the easiest tools to obtain. So I've got a fancy brass marver here that's got different shapes on it. I've got a knife that I can use as a marver. I can use this piece of graphite on the top of my torch as a marver. I can use basically any flat steel brass tool as a marver. I've got a piece of soapstone here that I have used as a marver. I've got a piece of marble that I've used as a marver. And it's my understanding that the word marver actually comes from the word marble. I've got a big piece of marble that I use for a marver in the Hot Shop, the big glass blowing studio, when I had it up and running. And it cracked pretty quickly. So marble may not be the best. The order of operations here doesn't really matter. But if you want the dot to be mushed in, it probably helps to put the dots in on the barrel stage. If you heat that too long to melt in the dots, you're going to lose the bevels. All right, so Wasp beans, we've got the 3 straight lines. We've got the 3 straight lines on a cube and clear. We've got the S. We've got the dots. We've got the dots and lines on a barrel. We've got the dots and lines on a bicone. We've got the 3 straight lines on a bicone. We've got the cube dots. That's going to be a messed up one. And again, I just don't care. So, another variation that I have seen is it's kind of a way of cheating the 3 straight lines. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to make a barrel. And then instead of making 3 straight lines, I'm going to just make a spiral. And that spiral will give a look similar to the 3 straight lines. Okay, now, again, you'll see the dots in red dots. You'll see the dots on the polyhedrals as red dots. And then this is a wasp bead adjacent bead. So it's not technically a wasp bead, at least by my definition, but the size and the simplicity just lend it to ending up in that same bin in my sorting system. And so it's just a barrel and then it's a red line on each side. So it's kind of a starting point of making those 3-color beads. So we'll pick that up later. And then I've seen that one in green as well. So I think I have run through the list. So, colors: clear, red, green, black, most common cobalt blue, least common clear, yellow decorations, and then there are some similar beads that use red decorations, but it's only 2 colors, not 3. And if in my mind, if it's more than those 2 colors, then it's not a wasp bead. And they are tiny. So, also another feature of them, as we discussed, is they are inconsistent. They are very messy beads, so let them be messy. All right, I think that's it for this little project, and I'm just gonna go into making stuff I need to make for the studio. So, thanks, friends. Oh, of course, don't forget, like, subscribe, follow, share, comment, donate, buy stuff. Everything's appreciated. Love you guys.